Hey, everybody, this is Barry Mankin here with the Holistic Home Health Podcast. We're here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have our part 2 interview here with Jim Goodloe. And we're talking about the situation here with Jim and his wife, Deb, at their home, where we have a process that we went through. And they're just giving their testimonial here today. So we're going to talk about other aspects. We talked about basically the front half from when we met, all the way up to dealing with general concepts, and then specific areas where you had remediation upstairs and how it was done incorrectly, to where it was done correctly. We got a clearance. Now we're going to reassess. Some of this reassessment comes with checking in from a health standpoint. How are you feeling? She's still not feeling well, right? We get into other applications. I think at that time we had talked about looking at the shop at that point. We had come up with some solutions to exfiltrate. We kind of alluded to that on the front end, but exfiltrate out of that room. And we looked at the potentials that were there to isolate and get that air out of there. That helped. And then we started talking about preventative maintenance, things like that. During that process, you had also mentioned issues with humidity in the basement. Historically, you had a dehumidifier in a finished basement. And you thought it was odd, I think, that I would say that you shouldn't need a dehumidifier in a basement if everything is correct. So we did an investigation on the outside of the house. We looked at potentials. We got into drainage. I think we even cameraed some drains.
Yes, all of them.
For you. And what we found, I believe, several drains that were clogged.
And there was no remediation for a couple of those because of where they were under the ground relative to the house.
Yeah.
You'd have to dig a trench 20 feet deep to get to them.
Right. Perimeter foundation drain is usually that elusive one.
Yeah.
Right. And you've got a big boulder wall on the one side, so that when that landscape was put in, we're assuming that it died off somewhere in there. So landscape comes into play with this a lot.
Yes.
We talked off camera, and you said that you had something that we had suggested on our reports early on is to manage that water on.
Yes.
Because you have negative grade toward the house, and even though that had been managed years ago, or at least attempted, on a hard rain, you said you would see that come to the house and go all the way to the foundation, and then run all the way down over that wall, potentially affecting that wall. Now, we didn't have any moisture, thank God, in there, but the potential's there. So tell me what they ended up doing.
So we dealt with it in 2 phases. The first phase was really to carry the water away from the house. And in doing that, they also built up around the house so that water was pushed away by the landscaping going up a little bit. And then this was 5 years later, that was inadequate. And due to probably some topographic changes on the hill that's above our house and pushing more water down than previously, and we had another company come in and evaluate the situation. They said, let's put in a French drain in a area between where the hill is and our house. They did that. It captured most of the water, but not all of it. They came back and basically doubled the size of the French drain area, put in 2 of them, as a matter of fact. And that does not allow this residual water coming off the hill to approach our house.
Yeah. About 5 or 6 feet, 7 feet away, or farther?
Yeah, a little bit further, about 10, maybe 10 feet away.
Right. Yeah, and as long as you have positive drainage from the house going to the drain, and then the negative drainage, it funnels, it takes it, and it steers it around the house.
Yes.
And I tell people, you can't stop water, but you can steer it. You can cut it and steer it, right? I've done so much of that work in my youth when everything was working better. But when we looked at that, I was like, okay, that's a potential, and we need to address that. So I'm glad that that's working now. And the only way you see it is worst case scenario. It's kind of like a stress test. You want to look at your worst case scenario to see how is the grading performing as it relates to water management around the house.
I think there's a level of knowledge that every homeowner needs to have, though, about things like that and being aware of things like that.
Yeah.
When you first came out to do your evaluation, and it was a very thorough evaluation, you pointed out next to my back porch where the downspout from the roof had separated from the pipe that carries the water away. Well, where was the water going as it came off the roof? Right down the wall next to my house.
Yep.
How long had it been there? I don't know. I'm not trained to observe things like that.
Right.
But I got it fixed and was able to take care of that one issue that had been there. If I had noticed it, I probably would have thought, yeah, that needs to be fixed. I'll fix it. But I don't look at things like that because I don't look at it through that that mind's eye, that perspective to be aware of things like that.
Yeah.
Another reason why having someone with your background and training come in and just do an evaluation is very, very valuable.
Yeah, we look for all the weak spots, right? And thank God, again, that wall in the basement in the finished area stayed dry because we monitored that
Yes,
often.
we did.
And you still monitor it. But we're taking moisture readings along that baseboard, in the wall, checking for any potentials, right, to come in. If there's a crack in the foundation that would be hidden, it's a pathway, right? Just the hydrostatic pressure alone, if that drainage isn't working up appropriately. So all those things we kind of look at, and then, of course, we remedied some of those drains we were able to find and open up. But it's that top-down, outside-in approach to start with as it relates to moisture on the home. That's what we tell people all the time, gutter guards, making sure on a hard rain that everything is working in the worst-case scenario. So that at least, and I would say it eliminates a lot of those issues in any crawl space or basement, or even in some cases on a slab, depending on the grading. But if you do those things and you get that managed appropriately, then it's like, okay, do we need the DHU now, right? Because all that moisture is getting drawn in, and just the hydrostatic pressure, the nature of the stack effect in the home, it's drawing that air, and if it stays saturated around the foundation, right, it permeates through that concrete. So then it was a matter of the conditioning. Then we had an issue that came up that you mentioned earlier, where you have spots of mold on all of your cloth items, your couch, lampshades
In the basement.
Which
was a result of turning the air conditioning fan on so that it ran continuously, not just when the air was being conditioned as it was brought in.
Yeah.
And at your suggestion, we actually have a relatively new HVAC system down there, which had a better dehumidifier built into it than the previous system. But at your suggestion, I bought it at one of the big box stores, a humidifier. And we run it, pretty much all year long, and really takes a lot of moisture out of the air, which is why in our basement, generally all the time we're sitting in the high 30s to low 40s. Occasionally it'll get up a little bit higher than that, but and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 humidity measuring devices, one of them on the HVAC unit itself, and then 3 others to test the moisture. I actually have a dehumidifier in my shop now.
Oh, gotcha.
And keep the humidity down in there as well, and it's not conditioned space.
Correct.
So, but we don't have a humidity issue in our basement anymore.
Yeah, there was a couple of things that led to that, and this is where we'll get into talking about air quality in general as well. Whenever I see something like that, I'm going to start outside in, which we dealt with. Then we're going to see what the moisture levels are at that point after things regulate. But in this particular case, you had an extra issue with the HVAC, how it was operating. What happens when it's left in the on position in a humid climate is it can't manage that moisture, that latent moisture. You get to that cooling effect and you just stay with the fan on, right? And so what happens is that coil can't recover with a temperature differential. The temperature differential between what's happening between the delivery of that pipe, the refrigerant, and what's being drawn back out, depending if it's a heat pump or not. Basically, that coil can't recover. And if the coil can't recover, the moisture that it's bringing in from the space can't reach dew point because it's drying that fan out, and you don't have the temperature differential to create the dew point quicker, to make it efficient, to condensate, get the moisture out of the air, and drain it out. And so what happens is, after that initial cycle, it just stays swirling that moisture around the air, right? So you never pull it out, right? It just stays moving, but it's thick. So in Tennessee, we have thick air in the summer. So usually in the summers, when it's nasty out, if you can't manage it and remove it, which is what an HVAC system is, it's just a big DU, right? How, again, not the what, but the how. We just want comfort and temperature. But the way that it does that is by effectively managing the moisture. So because it was left in the on position, and I see this maybe 8-10 times a year with people, and I have the conversation, I say, I'm so sorry. Click.
Yep. That's
and then I'm going, yeah, you did this. And so most people don't know.
Yeah.
And or they're told by somebody to circulate the air, right? But in Tennessee, you can't just circulate that air. And so when we found that, we did some testing. We made sure to map out the areas of influence that were affected. We're dealing with the same aspergillus.
Yep, we were.
Which is the typical one that I see during those instances. And your wife, when she scratched that spot on the lampshade, she's in direct contact. She's curious, right? She doesn't know. We don't understand the severity at this point. We know that it's not good for her, but we don't understand how severe that just by investigating something, she's going to be subject. She gets sick again. She's down. We come in. Please don't go to the basement anymore. Isolate her so she can recover, right? Because the upstairs was still good, separate system. And we just isolated that basement. We started to investigate. We got some remediation protocols in. We're removing things. We're looking at the value of certain items to say, is this worth testing? Surfaces, personal items, like all of that, we need to know, like how clean do we need it? Probably going to be on everything, and sure enough, it was.
Yeah, we had a lot of books, particularly children's books, that were our children, grown children's when they were little. They're now for our grandchildren, and several hundred. And I can say I personally wiped every single one of them down individually with a solution designed to take care of the mold.
Yeah.
And it's still not completely, it's still, if you open the book, and I think your instruction was just let it lie for a little bit and it'll take care of itself. But, we had photos, picture frames. Mm-hmm. Again, the basement was sort of where we stored things that we weren't using currently. And a few things we just threw away. There was a piece of furniture. It wasn't a particularly nice piece of furniture, but, it was so covered with mold, we just got rid of it.
Yeah.
And no, we're not going to give it to Goodwill to pass it on to somebody else.
Absolutely, yeah.
We got rid of that piece of furniture. Others, this antique desk that was my grandmother's, we worked really hard to make sure we got it completely clean.
Yeah. Solid surfaces you can generally get, unless they've been inundated with water themselves. But once we get into permeability of carpet and couches and things like books. Books have a hard enough surface. You can typically do some, but again, it depends on the level of contamination. It depends on what's residual. We actually tested those as like a general sample, and we had a little bit of residual that was still on there, but it was worth keeping. And because again, at what point is it normal ecology where we would see aspergillus in the air, and then what type of aspergillus, which that's a different level. But we got to a point to where we'd say, okay, this is within normal ecology standards. However, we have a sensitized client upstairs, so we got it even better. So and we didn't compromise on certain things that we may normally say, well, maybe you can clean that and then see how it is. We just said, okay, carpet, got to go.
Yeah.
Couches, sometimes we would get professional cleaning on that, but just to be safe, because of the levels were kind of like right there, we just said, got to go, right? And so that's where you guys had to make some personal decisions to say, this is going to be more costly, but it's not worth either the time to try to do it, or for what it's going to cost to clean it, maybe we just start over.
And some of the things those of us that don't understand it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why this mattress needs to go, but this one does not.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting rid of a mattress because the company said that we really can't assure you that this one's going to be cleaned, but we know this one is going to be fine, so you don't need to do anything about that.
Yeah.
We made the decision, and given the fact that Debbie is ultra sensitive to things, I'm not. Our children are not. We put some things away in boxes. Yeah. And things that are important to us, and at some point, we may or may not, Debbie may or may not open those boxes, or we may just pass them on to our children.
Right.
Not that we're passing something on to them that's necessarily dangerous, but they don't have the sensitivity that she does.
Correct.
And so we made the conscious decision of not exposing her to some things. I got an app for my phone. We have tons of pictures.
Yeah.
Old pictures going back, a couple of generations. And, pictures that she loves because she loves photography and she loves, keeping that history and that heritage. And so I made digital copies of all of those pictures.
That's beautiful.
So that we can keep them. And some we got rid of. Others we put in a box, and we've got the box sealed, and it shall not be opened, at least by her. But we're able to keep the pictures. But it took a lot of effort, and most of this, and I'm not tooting my own horn here, but most of this fell on me to do.
Yeah, you did a lot of work.
I knew she couldn't do it.
Oh, absolutely.
And even today. There are things that, with dust exposure, that we just, if it's going to be done, I'm going to do it because we're not going to take the chance of her being exposed to something needlessly.
Yeah. Exposure is everything. Exposure is everything. And that's what I tell people all the time. So having the amount of intention and care, you and I have had many conversations about this, but you have done so much work to be able to safeguard the process for her that, it's been amazing to watch. And now we have the benefits of that.
Yeah.
And so that's a testament to you just as much as it is for what we did. You steered that ship and you made sure that everything was dealt with appropriately. You asked great questions. And we gave you specific things to do, and you followed that protocol religiously.
And it's not cheap. We're fortunate enough to be in a position where God has blessed us financially that we can do these things. But we got rid of our vacuum cleaners and bought HEPA filter vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
And we've got one that rolls for the floor, and we've got another one that's a backpack.
Yeah.
But it's a HEPA filter. And when it's time to change the filter, I'm the one that changes the filter.
Exactly. Exposure.
Exposure.
Yeah.
And, I've already referred earlier to the special, I'm going to call them devices, but the filters and the probes in our HVAC unit that just that little bit more extra effort to keep the air in the house clean.
Yeah. Let's talk about preventative maintenance, right? So now it's like, okay, we've done all this effort. We've done this remediation. We've been successful. We've passed a PRV. Where the post-remediation verification, I come in, I test after remediation is complete. We know that things are clean. All right, we're in good shape. She's still healing, right? But we're all nervous still. Like, is this going to be enough? Is this going to work, right? When I talk about anybody that's a sensitized individual, I say you need good offense and good defense in the house from a preventative standpoint to manage what you do have. You need more of a bubble, if you will. And we always start with the food and water concept. And that food and water concept is manage the moisture appropriately, which we talked about, and manage the food appropriately. So whatever is in the air is a potential food source, right? So during that remediation process, ductwork cleaning came into play. So we're removing the food sources out of, or any potential residual mold out of the ducts. We validate that process through a really good process with 3-in-1 duct cleaning, camera work, et cetera, antimicrobial application, testing on the back end, which we did. Then we adapted that system for the winter, which I think was confusing for you all. You're like, wait a minute. The winter time's going to get dry, and we had this conversation, and I went, okay, I know this is going to sound weird. You actually need humidification for the winter. And everybody's like, I know your heart's stopping right now. It's a balance, okay? So this is how I tell everybody. God made everything to live at 50%, right? You have equilibrium. There's no pressure this way. There's no pressure that way. Nothing moves, right? All the guitar rooms in Nashville, everything has to live with a certain humidity because the wood shrinks, it expands, etc. We're just thinking growth, right? Mold, 72.4% in the air, 17.2% in substrate. That's where the magic starts happening. Then it becomes a food source, right? So you're far away from anything growing, still at 50%. And the least amount of viability that we have for any growth or viral viability is at that 50% of moisture when you look on your moisture scale. It's a big U, if you will. So what I tell people is to say, yes, I get it. Mold is bad. We've had terrible experiences. We want to stay far away from it. But we want balance. And the way we stay away from the viral side of that and high content of particulates getting lighter in the air for people that have lung issues or the sawdust or whatever has been out there, every winter we're heating our houses, at least in our climate here, we're heating. We got about 3 or 4 months out of the year. Now everything gets lighter and gets more in the air more, so we have more dosage or content. And we get exposed to it because it's in our airspace. We have to keep everything down, filtered, cleaned. Part of that management is working with moisture. Again, we can't stop it. We can steer it or cut it. Just like outside, inside, we steer it and we manage it. So if you're keeping it at around that 45 to 50% in your living space, then you're staying away from the viral content in the winter, at least a percentage, right? And keeping your other processes that we have that are doing prevention. We combined that with we added the steam-based humidification. I didn't, somebody else did, and we added that in the HVAC. We do have some technology and some filtration that we do offer for people that just want better. We have that. We never use that as a solution for mold removal or anything like that. But once it's clean, it's like, how good do you want it? You opted to get some stuff from us that we do offer. So there are some purifiers that we have in your bedroom area, in your living space that are outboard. And then we did something in line with your HVAC where some of our probes were installed by an HVAC professional. And that active technology with the ionization attacks the air. The UV helps keep the coil clean. So we have balanced humidification now in your living space, the food and water. We have clean ducts that are truly clean. And we're emitting multi-cluster ionization throughout the home on a regular basis. Not a lot, just enough, right? Just a little. I tell people a little offense and a whole lot of defense.
Yeah.
Then you've got HEPA purification outboard right now. You have in different locations because we wanted to see if that would be enough.
Yeah, it's where we live.
And it's working
Yeah.
great. So we don't need to go to the level of inline HVAC HEPA, which is a whole other expense, right? We're like, let's see what we need to do.
Yeah.
And so far, things have been working great.
Working well. And, before we got the humidifier for our upstairs, we did not do that for our downstairs because we don't live down there. We had, in the winter, our relative humidity would be in the high 20s and low 30s.
Yeah.
And, everybody around here experiences in the winter,
Right.
itch, right? Your skin gets so dry. We actually found sort of an additional benefit of adding the humidity in the winter. So we're now sitting in the high 40s. Our skin isn't as dry. The house is a lot more comfortable.
Sinuses.
So not as much heat is necessary.
Correct.
Because you've got it balanced with the humidity. And
It saves energy.
Yeah, it does.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to throw on that third or fourth blanket in the coldest days of the year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that that's working out. Everything that we talk about, that we preach, if you will, is balance with these two things. We build houses for energy. We pay for it in health. Unless we're intentional, and you were so intentional, and you're like, okay, Barry, what's next, right? And I appreciate that so much. Of course, it gives me a blanket to say, well, what would you like, And whenever we have health issues, we need to kind of step it up more than the norm.
Yeah, and let me toot your horn a little bit, because throughout this process, you were very careful to not go to the most expensive end. You could have.
Yeah.
To your benefit and to whatever company we would be buying it from. But you moved us forward incrementally so that we took a cost-effective approach that worked.
Yeah.
We could have spent a whole lot more money than we did.
Yeah.
But because you inched us forward and we got to right where we need to be, it was much more cost-effective.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't like. I'm not in the sales business. And I don't like the concept of everybody needs to sell something, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I try to stay far away from that conflict. And because, again, I never want to say that is a solution for somebody. It is icing. And it's for people that are sensitized. I think there is more of a need for it to be preventative because of that bubble concept. But everything that we try to do, we stay with the main and the plain about the remediation process, no conflict of interest, get things remediated to a point and pass that test, and then say, okay, from an improvement standpoint, what do you want to do, right? And so if we try to be upfront and honest with people with that process and say, listen, you can go as far as you want to go with this. In your case, you didn't have to go there because there's so many more levels that you can do. Which we've discussed. But it's about the pain point. We want to get things to where you're not experiencing the pain point and she can heal in that house. So we make the house healthy, the people are going to be healthy. So it's just a matter of like, what's it going to take to do that? And I appreciate the sentiment there. That's our heart, which, we've discussed this and at length, and we've had some great talks, and you've been so kind to invite me over to just sit and just, talk about this whole thing and maybe sip a little bit of wine. But just talk about life, because so much of this is relational. And I think people, when we're in business, we lose the human element of what we're there for in the first place. You're my neighbor. I mean, in Nashville, right? So, I mean, obviously, I'm not in the same neighborhood, but like, we live in the same town. We're brothers, and in the sense of, we're both believers, and we're both looking for the same thing. I mean, you have the pain point. Just because I have solutions doesn't mean that I can't sit and have relation and talk and have empathy, and let's just get you to a point that we can celebrate this stuff together, because so many of the clients are experiencing such pain that when they get through this, we can all rejoice in that process. So I'm just thankful for your hospitality, and you're willing to listen, and I'm just happy for both of you that you've come through this process on the backside. This is why we do it.
Yeah.
This is, to me, is so fun.
Well, we're thankful not only for fixing the issues, but helping carry us through that. I mean, I can't tell you how many rather lengthy conversations we had trying to figure out what we needed to do, and on a couple of occasions, walking us off the ledge, walking us back from the ledge,
right?
Because you understood it and we don't.
Yeah.
And, and I've heard the discussion about, relative humidity and temperature more times than I can count. And I still don't understand how the temperature goes up and the humidity, does it go up or does it go down? I never can remember.
Right. Yeah. Thermodynamics.
Yeah.
So that's everything. But, it's just it's a neat industry for me. It is a privilege for me to be able to serve people and to help, because I get to, and I love doing it, and I love the stories, and I appreciate you being willing to share yours. And please give Deb a hug for me.
Sure will.
And I just want to thank you for your time, and just say, hey, if anybody has any questions about this process, give us a call, and we'll get you hooked up. But Jim, thank you again for coming.
Well, I've enjoyed being here, enjoyed sharing the story, and I enjoy telling other people what a wonderful job you do.
Oh, thank you.
I can't tell you how many times I've referred you to my friends.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right. You guys, thanks for watching. Be safe out there.